Hello everyone! Once again, welcome to Bright Lab Tutorials. Today, we will learn about completing the square. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that notification button to keep you updated on my tutorials. The method of completing the square involves transforming a given quadratic equation into the form of x minus h quantity squared equal to k, where h and k are constants and the left-hand side is a perfect square. To obtain that form, let's work on with this example. For our given example, 3x squared minus 12x minus 6, first, we have to get rid of the constant by transforming this to the right side of the equation. Simply add 6 on both sides, cancel 6, gives us 3x squared minus 12x equal to 0 plus 6 will give us 6. Next, let's look at the coefficient of x squared. In completing the square, we need to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1. Since this is 3, we have to divide each term by 3. This one cancels out, leaving us with x squared minus 4x equal to 2. Next, we have to make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. To do that, we need to add a number here to make this side a perfect square trinomial. So let's look at the coefficient of x. Okay, just the numerical coefficient. Okay, let's write it here. Next, we have to divide this coefficient by 2. That will give us 2. And then next, we square that. That will give us 4. Now, this number is the one that we need to add here in order for this side to be a perfect square trinomial. Whatever you add here, you also need to add on the right-hand side to make our equation equal. Now, what we have on our left side is a perfect square trinomial. We have to express this into a square of a binomial. And how do you do that? Simply, we get the square root of x squared. And then we get half of the coefficient of x. Half of 4 gives us 2. And then whatever is the sign in the middle term, that is also the sign you need to add here. And then we square that equal to 2 plus 4 gives us 6. Now, we transform this quadratic equation into that format. Since we are solving a quadratic equation, we need to get rid of the square on this side. By doing so, we need to extract the square root on both sides of the equation. Extracting the square root cancels the square and the square root sign, leaving us with x minus 2 equal to the roots of 6. Now, extracting the square root of a number, we need to get the positive and the negative square roots. Next, we isolate x. Okay, isolating x, we need to transpose negative 2 to the other side. And by doing so, we simply add 2 on both sides of the equation. Adding 2 cancels that, isolating x. So we have x is equal to 2 plus and minus square root of 6. In solving quadratic equations, we have 2 solutions for x. Let us split these 2. So we have the solution to be 2 plus square root of 6 and also 2 minus square root of 6. Sometimes we write it as solution set of 2 positive square root of 6 and also 2 minus square root of 6. 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Let's transpose negative 3 to the other side. That is simply adding 3 on both sides. Cancels 3 here on the left side. So we have 2x squared minus 5x equal to 3. Next, let's look at the coefficient of x squared. In completing the square, we need to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1. And since this is 2, we have to divide each term by 2. cancels 2 and 2, leaving us with x squared minus 5 over 2x equal to 3 over 2. Next, let's look at the coefficient of x, okay? Just the numerical coefficient. And let's get half of this coefficient. Let's write it here. So 5 over 2, getting half of 5 over 2 is simply multiplying this by 1/2, giving us 5 over 4. And then square this side. Squaring this number gives us 25 over 16. Now, in completing the square, we need to make sure that the left-hand side is a perfect square trinomial. This number is the number we need to add here to make this a perfect square trinomial. So adding 25 over 16, whatever you add here, also add on the right-hand side. Now we express this term as a perfect square trinomial. Let's express this into a square of a binomial. How do you do that? Simply, we have to get the square root of x squared, giving us x, and then get half of the middle term. Now we already got the half of that middle term. That is 5 over 4. So that's the number that we need to write here, 5 over 4. And whatever the sign in the middle term, that's also the sign you need to write here. And we square this. And then we add this 2. We add this unlike fraction. In adding unlike fraction, there's an easy method how to do this. I had another video on that and the link is down below. Adding unlike fraction is simply multiplying the two denominators. 2 times 16 gives us 32. And then we cross multiply these two numbers. 3 times 16 is 48. Whatever is the sign there, just write it here. And then we cross multiply these two. 2 and 25 gives us 50. Adding the numerator, 48 plus 50 gives us 98 over 32. So that's the answer for this one. Next, let's get rid of the square sign there. And that is by extracting the square root on both sides of the equation. Extracting the square root cancels the square and the square root sign, leaving us with just x minus 5 over 4 equal to positive and negative square root of 98 over 32. Now, let's simplify this radical. In simplifying radicals, we need to get the factors of 98 and 32. And since 98 and 32 are both even numbers, we can divide this by 2. The factors of 98 are 2 and 49. And the factors of 32 are 2 and 16. You notice the 2 are both in numerator and denominator. So we can cancel those two together, leaving us with just square root of 49 over 16. Now, 49 is a perfect square and so is 16. So, getting the square root of 49 over 16 gives us 7 over 4. So, the answer here is positive and negative 7 over 4. And then, we just rewrite this one. Next, we isolate x by transposing negative 5 over 4 to the other side of the equation, or simply adding 5 over 4 on both sides. This one cancels out, leaving us with x equal to positive and negative 7 over 4 plus 5 over 4. We can also write this 5 over 4 plus and minus 7 over 4 for the values of x. Since we're solving quadratic equations, we have two solutions for x. The positive of 7 over 4 and the negative of 7 over 4. So let's just split this into two. We have x to be 5 over 4 plus 7 over 4. That will give us 12 over 4, which is equal to 3. the negative, which is 5 over 4 minus 7 over 4. Since they have the same denominator, we simply subtract. This will give us negative 2 over 4. And we can still reduce this. That will lead us to negative 1/2. So our solution set for this particular equation is 3 and negative 1/2. I hope you understand this lesson in completing the square. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to my channel. And thanks for watching.